Artificial intelligence has just opened a door to a world we never knew existed. Scientists just decoded the secret language of plants, and it is terrifying to realize what they are saying. After 5 minutes from the start of the lack of oxygen, we had in this group of plants emitting an SOS signal to warn the surrounding plant that there is something that is going wrong with oxygen. For centuries, humans treated the plant kingdom like furniture. But new research shows they are active, vocal, and deeply aware of their surroundings. What most people do not realize is that a simple tomato plant can scream 30 times an hour when it is thirsty. This is not just random noise. It is a structured language that carries specific information about their survival and the enemies they face every day. The pop heard around the world. The world of plants has always seemed like a quiet place where nothing happens quickly. We see them as beautiful green decorations that provide us with oxygen and food. But here is the deal. Our senses are incredibly limited, and we have been missing the biggest conversation on Earth. A team of brilliant researchers decided to listen to plants in a way that had never been tried before. They used special microphones that can pick up sounds far higher than any human ear can detect. These devices were placed just inches away from tomato and tobacco plants inside a soundproof room. At first, there was nothing but total silence. But the crazy part is what happened when the plants were put under stress. When the scientists stopped watering the plants, the silence was shattered by a series of rapid-fire clicking sounds. These pops were occurring between 40 and 80 kilohertz. To give you some context, a young person with perfect hearing can only detect sounds up to 20 kilohertz. This means the plants were shouting in a frequency that was totally invisible to us. A healthy plant stays mostly quiet, but a thirsty tomato plant can emit up to 40 of these ultrasonic screams every single hour. It is not just random air bubbles, either. The researchers used artificial intelligence to look at the patterns of these sounds. The machine learning model was able to tell the difference between a thirsty plant and a plant that had been physically cut with 84% accuracy. What most people do not realize is that this changes our entire relationship with nature. We used to think plants were just reacting to the world in a slow and mechanical way. Now we know they are broadcasting their internal state to anyone who can hear. In the wild, insects like moths and even small mammals might be able to hear these sounds from several feet away. This means a moth looking for a place to lay eggs might listen to a plant to see if it is too stressed to fight back. It is a constant exchange of information that has been happening right under our noses for millions of years. And that is putting it lightly. We have basically been walking through a room full of people screaming, and we just did not have the right ears to hear them. The AI proved that a cut tobacco plant has a different acoustic signature than a thirsty one. Each type of pain has its own specific sound. This is a massive breakthrough for farmers because it means we could use sensors to hear exactly what a crop needs before it even looks wilted. We could save billions of gallons of water by giving plants exactly what they ask for. But here is the catch. If the plants are telling us when they are in pain, it suggests they have a level of awareness we never credited them with. We are looking at a world where every blade of grass is an active participant in its own survival. But this underground chatter was hiding a much darker secret: the underground war room. For a long time, we have known that trees are connected by a massive network of fungi in the soil. People like to call this the wood wide web. The common idea was that this was a nice and helpful system where big trees shared sugar with little trees. It sounds like a peaceful forest community, right? Well, it is not that simple, though. When scientists used AI to analyze the signals moving through these fungal threads, they found something much more intense. This network is not just for sharing food. It is a high-speed communication system used for coordination and even biological warfare. When a tree is attacked by a swarm of insects, it does not just sit there and take it. It starts pumping out bitter chemicals to protect its leaves. And get this, it also sends an emergency signal through its roots to every other tree in the area. The AI detected that these warning signals travel incredibly fast through the fungal network. Trees that were hundreds of feet away from the attack started making their own defenses before a single bug even touched them. The entire forest acts like a single superorganism with a shared nervous system. They are talking to each other across miles of dirt, passing along tactical information about the enemy. However, the network is not always a friendly place. Everyone is obsessed with the idea of nature being cooperative. But the AI found evidence of sabotage. Some species of trees, like the black walnut, use the network to spread toxins that prevent other plants from growing nearby. They are basically poisoning the ground to make sure their rivals cannot survive. The AI tracked specific low-frequency signals that coordinated these chemical attacks. It is a slow-motion war where plants are fighting for every square inch of space and every drop of water. They use the fungal network to spy on their neighbors and decide when to strike. This level of organization is hands down one of the most shocking things we have ever discovered about biology. It means the forest is not just a collection of individuals but a complex society with its own rules and its own ways of dealing with outsiders. They share resources when it helps the group, but they are also capable of being incredibly ruthless. We are talking about a biological internet that is millions of years older than anything humans have ever built. It is a world of alliances and betrayals that happens in total silence beneath our feet. But the most disturbing part is how these plants react when a human enters the picture. We always assumed that plants were unaware of us unless we were touching them. But after discovering their language, scientists wanted to see if plants could actually recognize individual people. They set up an experiment that feels like something out of a science fiction movie. They had two different people interact with a group of plants. One person was the caretaker who watered them and took care of them. The other person was the aggressor who would come in and snip off leaves with scissors. They used AI to monitor the electrical signals inside the plants and the ultrasonic sounds they were making. The results were absolutely mind-blowing. At first, the plants reacted to both people in the same way. But after just a few days, the AI noticed a distinct change. When the caretaker walked into the room, the plants stayed calm. But the moment the aggressor stepped through the door, the entire room erupted in ultrasonic clicks. The plants were recognizing that specific person before they even touched a single leaf. They were reacting to the vibration of their footsteps and their unique scent. The AI showed that the plants had formed a memory of who was a friend and who was a foe. What most people do not realize is that plants do not have brains or a central nervous system like we do. Yet, they are still able to store information and learn from their experiences. The AI could predict which person was entering the room just by looking at the plant's electrical data. This suggests that plants have a form of intelligence that is completely different from our own. They are not just reacting to the present moment. They are remembering the past to protect themselves in the future. It is a terrifying thought that the tree in your yard might actually remember you from 10 years ago. This awareness extends to the tools we use as well. The data showed that plants react with a massive panic signal to the sound of a lawnmower or a chainsaw. They can hear the machine coming from a distance and they start sending out distress signals to the rest of the lawn. It is a wave of terror that spreads through the grass long before the blade actually hits. They are screaming to each other about the coming disaster. We are moving through a world that is not only watching us but is actively judging whether we are a threat to its existence. But their defense goes far beyond just making noise and feeling fear. Nature strikes back. If plants can identify us as a threat, the next logical question is whether they can fight back. Scientists used AI to cross-reference plant communication with changes in the environment and human health data. What they found sounds like a conspiracy theory, but the data is very real. It appears that plants are not just victims of climate change. They are actively trying to fix the planet on their own terms. The AI detected that massive forests are coordinating the release of specific chemicals into the air to try and create more cloud cover. They are trying to cool themselves down by literally changing the weather. But here is the catch. Their defense mechanisms are starting to target humans directly. In areas where plants are under high stress from pollution and cutting, they are producing pollen that is far more aggressive. The AI found that the proteins in this pollen have been modified to be more irritating to human lungs. It is almost as if the plants are using a form of biological warfare to push us away. The massive rise in allergies and breathing problems across the world might not just be an accident of nature. It could be a coordinated response from a kingdom that has had enough of our interference. The crazy part is that they are even sharing these defense blueprints through the network. When one group of plants develops a new way to resist a chemical or a threat, they share that genetic information with others. The AI discovered that plants use viruses and fungi to pass snippets of DNA to each other across long distances. This is why weeds are evolving to survive our poisons faster than traditional science can explain. They are crowdsourcing their evolution. They are working together as a global team to ensure that life continues even if we make the environment hostile. The soil itself is becoming a minefield for our agriculture. In places like the Amazon, native plants are using the network to encourage the growth of fungi that destroy man-made crops while leaving the forest untouched. They are reclaiming their territory using a silent army of germs. They are not just sitting there waiting for us to stop. They are taking active steps to sabotage our efforts to control them. We thought we were the ones in charge. But the planet is playing a much deeper game of chess with chemistry and genetics. But this struggle is part of something much bigger than any one forest. The global mind. When we step back and look at the cumulative data gathered over the last decade, the picture that emerges isn't just unsettling, it's chilling. For years, we viewed the planet as a collection of resources, a silent backdrop to the human drama. But the integration of deep learning AI with NASA's satellite-based hyperspectral imaging has shattered that illusion. We aren't looking at a silent world. We are looking at a screaming one. Scientists initially set out to track carbon sequestration and moisture levels. Instead, they stumbled upon a global synchronization so precise it defies conventional biology. When a major environmental disaster occurs, a massive wildfire in the Amazon or a chemical spill in the Yangtze, a ripple of distress signals can be detected across the entire planet within seconds.